For the first time, SpaceX appears to have begun delivering large quantities of cryogenic fluids to Starship's orbital launchpad. Still under construction, but fast approaching some level of initial operational capability. Before we get into it, click that like and subscribe button and let us know in the comments below what videos you would like to see. Sometime in the morning on September 19th, a semi-truck carrying cryogenic liquid nitrogen LN2 transport trailer arrived at SpaceX's Starbase launch facilities. Normally, that would be a completely mundane and uninteresting event. SpaceX has used and will continue to use liquid nitrogen to safely proof test Starship prototypes and supercool their liquid methane and oxygen propellant for the indefinite future. However, up to now, 100% of all Starbase cryogen deliveries have gone to the suborbital launch site, where 2 mounts and a few concrete aprons have supported all Starship and Super Heavy tests and launches to date. Instead, this particular LN2 tanker headed for Starbase's first orbital tank farm and began to offload its cryogenic liquid cargo at a number of brand new fill stations specifically designed for the task. By all appearances, the first time that the farm's actual main tanks have been filled with anything, that liquid nitrogen seems to have been loaded into one or both of its 2 insulated LOX tanks. There are 2 or 3 main explanations. First, SpaceX could simply be testing those more or less completed tanks with their first cryogenic fluids. Those partial cryoproof tests would also help clean and flush out the interior of the LOX tanks, removing mundane debris and containment that could become a major hazard when submerged in a high-density oxidizer. Given that both tanks can easily hold approximately 1,300 tons or 2.9 million pounds of liquid nitrogen, 70 tons is more of a tickle than a test. So a magnitude more would need to be delivered to perform even a half-decent bare minimum cryoproof. The other distinct possibility is that SpaceX plans to temporarily use one or both of the only 2 finished orbital pad tanks to store liquid nitrogen for Super Heavy Boosters 4 first cryogenic proof test. Either way, SpaceX has test windows scheduled every day this week, beginning with a 6-hour window that opens at 5 p.m. Central Time on and after September 20th. In different news, as the Starship and Super Heavy test has scheduled a full week with as many as 30 hours of road and beach closures for Starship and Super Heavy testing. SpaceX is working hard to prepare the first orbital class ship and booster for several major challenges. First rolled to SpaceX's Starbase orbital launch site more than 6 weeks ago and stacked together for the first time on August 6th, the company has spent the last month putting the finishing touches on Starship 20, S20, and a Super Heavy Booster 4, or B4, ranging from heat shield installation to plumbing and wiring. Perhaps most importantly, SpaceX has also installed some or all of the Raptor engines that are expected to support the ship and booster's first static fire qualification test. For a number of reasons, those static fires and a few additional tests expected to precede them could be a huge milestone for SpaceX's Starship program. SpaceX has already installed a full 29 Raptor engine on a Super Heavy B4 last month. After returning to Starbase, those engines were removed and eventually reinstalled a few weeks later, albeit with a number of replacements. Now, having spent the last 11 days sitting on the orbital pad's launch mount, SpaceX began to replace at least one of its Booster 4's 29 installed engines. It's unclear why, but the fact that SpaceX is replacing engines at the launch pad instead of rolling Super Heavy back to the build site for the 3rd time is an encouraging sign that B4 is nearly ready for its first proof and static fire test. Next time on Discover Zen, we're going to go ahead and discuss, is it possible to terraform Venus? Thank you so much for watching our video. We hope that you have a wonderful day.